I suppose that you're going to say that the intent of your account is to shine light on things that actually just don't need to be shone light on at all. And as we saw from that interview, that where you were exposed, you're not really, you know that you're not actually exposing anything. You're not actually presenting any new danger to anyone. You're just shouting sound bites and hoping that somehow they land and they go viral.
So kindergarten teachers teaching their 4-year-olds that they could be transgender, I shouldn't expose that?
Right. Is it really any of your business, though? Is it really actually hurting you or hurting any American citizen?
I'm sorry. I think this is quite unfair. At the end of the day, I do think that a lot of the things that have been exposed by Libs of TikTok are actually very valid, like what the kind of content children are consuming in schools, the kind of things they're...
She made a valid point. America, we're having a lot of problems in the streets, and if you're being honest and stuff, it's the people that are coming into the country in America, we're seeing a different trend. It's a lot of young men, military age, in shape, not a lot of families, and young children. And we have a lot of problems with young men make bad decisions in this country. Men are dangerous. Doesn't matter what color they are. Men without jobs, frustrated, in inner cities, bad things happen. And you can say that. And it doesn't matter whether they're white, brown, black, there's problems. And to go at her back and forth, the original question, this is a joke. If you want to have an actual question, don't yell at her. If you want to meet her, then sit down and have a conversation. Libs of Tik Tok is basically, she took the simplest thing in the world. What is she guilty of? Retweeting somebody else's narrative. And when you take it out of the water and you put it up on the board and we all look at it, we giggle and go, wow, that was really dumb. And then research it. She's not doing anything that any one of us is not already doing. The difference...
Hey y'all, so in this one we're going to watch a debate about the account called Libs of TikTok, which originally started out as an anonymous account, but she was eventually doxxed by a media person from the left. And now that she's been outed or exposed or whatever it is, she's done some interviews, and this one's pretty interesting. I think it's going to be fun to watch, so let's just go ahead and check it out.
So is Libs of TikTok really hateful or just shining a legitimate light on woke insanity? In a moment, we'll discuss that and more with tonight's pack. Here in the studio, Uncensored contributors Esther Krakow and Ava Santina, and a New York Fox Nation host and author of Nuff Said, my friend Tyrus. But first, I'm joined by the Libs of TikTok creator, Haya Raychick. Well, Haya, thank you very much indeed for joining me on Uncensored. I've got to say, I read a lot of your tweets, and the ones that I absolutely love are where you expose rank hypocrisy, where you simply show people a statement by a liberal, normally about something to do with the right wing or conservative arm, and then you have a response which just highlights the hypocrisy.
Karis, thanks so much for having me on. It's great to be here. There's a lot of hypocrisy to expose, and it's part of the reason why they hate me so much, because I'm just sharing themselves in their own words and pointing out their hypocrisy, and they just can't handle seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, you've become a hate figure and a figure that's very popular as well. How do you deal with the reaction? I mean, you've got an aggressive interview there with the Washington Post journalist. Do you care? Does it deter you?
No, not at all. The hate actually keeps me going because the people that hate me are the most vile people on earth, and the fact that they hate me tells me that I'm doing something great. I would actually be upset if the people who are pro-genital mutilation and pro-giving kids porn in school and pro-sexualizing kids, I would be kind of concerned if they liked me.
Right. I mean, many people will watch this and they'll agree with you. Do you think some of the ways you express yourself have crossed a line? Are there any of the tweets you've done where, with hindsight, you would have phrased things a little differently?
No, I stand by every single one of my tweets. I'm very proud of the work that I have done to expose the sexualization and grooming of children and to expose the hypocrisy of the left.
OK, well, let's bring in the panel here to discuss this. Ava, I mean, it's a hugely popular account, this. There's various accounts, but it's hugely popular. What do you think of it?
I find it quite hateful, but I think that's the intent, right? Because people are addicted to receiving click gratification, and they like to be retweeted and they like to be liked online. And a really good way to go about that is to stoke fear and to stoke loathing. You know, that one video you just showed us there of that person in a mask and they are like pouring over a couple of slices of bread. Yeah, that's totally nuts. But Does that person deserve to go viral and have their life destroyed? Probably not. It's very weird behaviour, but it's almost like capital punishment.
But there's a lot of people on the woke side who are also extremely hateful, and pricking their balloon actually could be a valuable public service, exposing the rank hypocrisy of much of the woke
what have we actually
insanity
exposed here?
in terms of the way they express themselves, I think is important.
But what have we actually exposed here? Have we not just exposed some people are quite strange? I mean, is there any actual humanitarian good from posting these people online?
Well, I think what happens is when you tend to be on a corner of social media, you don't even want to be there, but you're in an echo chamber. So actually the algorithm doesn't allow you to see these things. The fact that this website or the Libs of TikTok just repost things that are already posted by Libs, I think is quite telling. It's not fabricating things that don't exist. I do appreciate it may not be helpful to say something that someone who's clearly mentally unwell is mentally unwell for it to go viral and for them to be trolled on the internet. But I think the fundamental premise is it's not making stuff up. These are things that exist. This person arguably put it on social media. If he goes viral because another account retweets it, what's the big
I
deal?
kind of agree. I mean, it's bringing Tyrus. I mean, Tyrus, there is a lot of hypocrisy on all sides on social media. We know that.
Yeah.
But what do you
Well,
make
there
about
is.
the few?
I'm actually
Sorry, go on.
I'm actually upset. I want to be made fun of by Libs of TikTok. I love you guys. I think you need to open up. I need to open up Libs. You need to come after conservatives also. There's a lot of dumb shit coming out of people's mouths, and I think the biggest thing is just hearing that argument.
Yeah.
I watched that interview, and here's the thing: it's freedom of speech. Whether you like it or not in America, you're not going to like everything. People go after you. I think what Libs is doing is they're just putting a mirror on you. Now, if she was just writing the stuff and just doing what everyone else is doing, basically the parrot procedure, the woman that she's arguing with was basically saying, have you read any books? I'm willing to bet the woman that said that to her didn't, because she didn't give her any names. So I think what has to happen is, if you're in situations like that, I don't think any book should be burned. I do think, though, there should be, just like anything else, a pack of cigarettes. In America, you got to be 18. If there's a book that has as high sexual content or instructions or a biography, it needs to be labeled and such. And if a child is curious or has those questions, that's a book that needs to be checked out with their family. So there needs to be access to those things, but we need to remember to be adults in the room. Anytime, like I said, if they would have said, hey, let's sit down and read this book together and actually figure out what's wrong. And that's boring, and it's a long thing, because in America especially, we're all parrots. We only want to read about 8 lines, if that, and then we take that and go argue with it. And we're seeing that on TV. We see everyone, like people like us, we come on, we read the headline and read a little paragraph. No one's actually... So you got to do the work. You got to go find the books, and then you can have a real conversation. We don't have real conversations anymore.
Yeah.
We're parrots, we repeat stuff, and whoever barks the loudest gets the most likes and tweets. So Libs is not doing anything that CNN doesn't do, every news media doesn't do. Look for a gotcha moment. Someone said something, they take it out of context and place it. Here's the thing, the Libs aren't even doing that. They're just putting it. So keep doing what you do, but I'm sure if you watch me, you can make fun of me on something. Like my arms are crossed on TV, something.
Some of the tweets have had repercussions. They've led to people being harassed, they've led to threats and so on. Do you have regret about some of the consequences, albeit they may not have been your intention?
Well, I don't think it's fair to say that my tweets led to harassment. The media, they like to accuse me of violence and bomb threats and stuff, and there's no evidence that it's my followers doing that. It's just, I mean, if I'm responsible for any of that, then the media is responsible for the death threats that I get after they report on me in a malicious way. So I don't think that that is accurate to say that.
And when you say, for example, that not all cultures are equal, what did you mean by that?
I mean, if you look at what's going on in the West, they're importing the third world, and there's constantly videos all over. It's very easy to find. And I think if you import the third world, you're going to become the third world, and it's scary. And I did explain it. You played the clip, Piers. We're bringing in people who don't want to, Taylor used the term melting pot, but they don't want to join the melting pot. They don't like America. They don't like what we stand for.
Okay, Ava, you were saying that was disgraceful. Why?
Well, I'm just sort of confused because I'm not really too sure what you're adding to America or what you're actually contributing in comparison to this, this quote unquote importing third world. What are you talking about? People who migrate to America or people who migrate to the UK and then, I don't know, work in your health service and, work for you. What are you actually contributing? Just because the colour of your skin is white doesn't mean that you are somehow more valuable than someone else.
Say what? When did she say anything about being white? Being somewhat familiar with the way algorithms work, when you like and follow a certain type of people, that's what you're shown. And being a person on the right or in the middle who doesn't follow a bunch of Democrat or liberal accounts, you might not see these crazy posts that these liberals are posting. So when Libs of TikTok says, oh, wow, look what these people are posting over here, and puts them on her platform that is shown to a different group of people, that's just spreading the information that's already out there and available for those people to see. It's just a workaround for the algorithm to get that tweet or that post to more people. As simple as that.
That's not what she's saying.
I mean, it is
I'm
what
just gonna
she's
jump
saying.
in here because it's not what she's saying.
I never mentioned skin
And,
color.
But you
she
did.
was
You
asked-
said
hold on.
importing the
She
third
was
world, and we
asked-
know what those connotations mean. Let's not play stupid here. We know
Okay.
exactly what you mean
No,
by
no.
that.
You are adding. I didn't get that
You
from that. I
denied
didn't
those
get, as a black
videos that
man,
are
I didn't
constantly
get that
all
from
over
that at
social
all.
media.
What videos?
The videos of the third
All
world
she does is
in the
repeat.
West totally destroying the cities.
Ugh.
Look
All
at
right,
videos
let's
of
bring-
England,
let me bring
Italy,
Tyrus.
France.
Tyrus.
Look
If
what's
I
going
could
on
just
there. You're
have
okay with that?
like, listen.
Don't talk over each other. Tyrus, have your say.
Yeah, Tyra, here's the thing. This is what happens. So she got asked like 700 major questions, and she tried to answer each one, and they're all gotcha questions. She said some cultures, and listen, America, the melting pot, you come to assimilate. This is where, if I could give you any advice, do not do these interviews because they're only designed to get you to ask you as many questions. It's like a rapid fire. Boom, boom, boom. And you're answering them as fastly as you can, and that's the problem. Each one of those conversations you had was at least a 40-minute conversation on like my show Outkick. Like each one were long and diverse, and there's no quick answer to them. You got to stop doing the quick answers when you're interviewed because now they're going to say you're racist because you're just being the grouping. When you group, and that's what she was doing back to you. She was trying to group you in because by the color of your skin, because you're racist, because you're putting out stuff and you're asking a question. If people are coming to this country not to assimilate, to do whatever they want, and what we're seeing on our streets and what we're seeing in the streets of London, not a lot of assimilation.
And to that point, what are we seeing going on in the UK right now? The lack of assimilation has basically led to a next civil war over there. You have the people that were native to those countries fighting with immigrants. It's pretty crazy, actually.
But you see,
there
what
are
I see
good
on your streets is,
American, or there are good immigrants that come here, but you can't just say, oh, well, sometimes when you group it, you ease it, but you don't want to group her. You want to make her into this racist person.
But
All
a lot
she's
of
doing
the
is
the
being
violence
a
that you
mirror.
see in
And
America
she's
is
no different than
perpetrated.
you and any news group. You're taking
Okay,
what she's
Ava,
saying, you're turning it around to fit your narrative, and then you're throwing it back at her. Like, do some actual research on her. The woman's not racist at all.
Okay,
I'd be the first
A
one
lot
to
of
go at her.
a lot of the
All she's
crime that
doing
you're
is pointing
talking
out the
about is
obvious.
perpetrated
Be
by
better.
American citizens.
Be better than that. You're better than that.
Right.
Get her on context.
Well, she did
get her on
accuse me
her,
at the
her what
beginning
she
of this
says,
interview.
but don't attack her skin. You're better than that.
I didn't
I don't know
attack
you,
her
but
skin.
She
you're-
said that my
better than that.
intent
Leave
is
her
to be
skin out
a
of
hate
this.
account. So
I mean, it is. It's
Leave
to
her alone.
capitalize on hate, fear, and loathing.
not
That is
racist.
it. And it's okay. You should
Okay,
just
let Ava respond.
you can ask me what's my intent of this account. My intent is not to stoke hate.
Okay, but
You
what
just
I mean,
accused me of that at the beginning of this interview.
what is the? I mean, I suppose that you're going to say that the intent of your account is to shine light on things that actually just don't need to be shone light on at all. And as we saw from that interview, that where you were exposed, you're not really. You know that you're not actually exposing anything. You're not actually presenting any new danger to anyone. You're just shouting sound bites and hoping
Really?
that somehow they land and they
so
go
kindergarten
viral.
teachers
That's
teaching
what
their
you just
teaching
did
4-year-olds that
to
they could be
her.
transgender. I shouldn't expose that.
Right. Is it really any of your business, though? Is it
Well,
really actually hurting you or hurting
on.
any American citizen?
I'm sorry. I think this is quite unfair. At the end of the day, I do think that a lot of the things that have been exposed by Libs of TikTok are actually very valid. Like what the kind of content children are consuming in schools, the kind of things they're exposed to. You know, questioning the justification of taking off people's limbs and different body parts when you wouldn't do that for someone who's of rational mind. I think the problem that we tend to find is, when you're fighting on a side, you tend to effectively choose the path of least resistance and just say things that will connect, but you don't particularly articulate it. So I'm assuming when you say things like we're importing the third world, and I'm assuming this is what you're saying, you're talking about values. What kind of values are these people bringing into your country? Are they assimilating with the dominant culture? And I think these are valid points to make, because over the last few years, we've seen millions of people cross the southern border. They haven't been audited. We don't know what values these people are bringing into the country. We don't even know who they are. These are valid points to make. And unfortunately, you don't get that opportunity to effectively articulate that properly when you're in doing short form interviews like this. So I think that's a perfectly valid point. But to say that she's not exposing anything that's important, these are the kinds of things that will actually sway the next election. So people are concerned about it, and you should be concerned about it.
I know that they are important. I know that people are talking about them. But it's because we ramp it up all the time. Look, I think that your comment about the third world...
Not just because we ramp it up. It's because it matters. These are the people who are living...
All right, let Ava respond.
I think that we all know that comment about the third world is so unnuanced. It doesn't have any meaning to it. And you know that it's just baiting. It's race baiting. And it's stoking fear. And I mean, you're welcome to tell me. Tell me what the other intended purpose of that, if it's not to do those things. Do you want to tell me?
I think it's very important that we understand what could happen.
What could happen? Tell me what could happen.
Okay, what do you mean by the third world? What exactly?
Why don't you ask Lake and Riley's parents? Why don't you speak to them?
I don't know who those people are. Okay, what do you mean when you say
you don't know who Lake and Riley is?
People that were murdered by illegal aliens.
But what do you mean by third world? What does third world mean to you?
What do you mean by I shouldn't be exposing the sexualization of kids?
Why are you answering a question with a question? Can you not? I mean, why don't you give us a simple
Tyrus?
answer?
Hey, Pierce, I got a golf date with a panda on the moon. This is the problem. They're arguing talking points. There's no conversation here. She's not a racist. She made a valid point. America, we're having a lot of problems in the streets, and if you're being honest and stuff, it's the people that are coming into the country in America, we're seeing a different trend. It's a lot of young men, military age, in shape, not a lot of families, and young children. And we have a lot of problems with young men make bad decisions in this country. Men are dangerous. Doesn't matter what color they are. Men without jobs, frustrated, in inner cities, bad things happen. And you can say that. And it doesn't matter whether they're white, brown, black, there's problems. And to go at her back and forth, the original question, this is a joke. If you want to have an actual question, don't yell at her. If you want to meet her, then sit down and have a conversation. Libs of Tik Tok is basically, she took the simplest thing in the world. What is she guilty of? Retweeting somebody else's narrative. And when you take it out of the water and you put it up on the board and we all look at it, we giggle and go, wow, that was really dumb. And then research it. She's not doing anything that any one of us is not already doing. The difference is, for whatever reason, when I retweet something like that is said that I think is silly or dumb, it did not blow up the way it is. What she's doing, it's her formula. If you don't like her, if you don't like what she stands for, that's fine. But have a conversation with her. If you want to call her a racist, I'm not going to talk to a racist. So why are we even talking? There's no point to this. Pierce, I love you. If we want to move on to the next topic,
yeah,
but
we do.
To listen to people argue and have her called names is a waste of my time and everybody here.
Okay, we're going to move on. I want to give the last word on this, though, to Haya before we let you go. You've listened to a range of views here. What's your final thought about all this?
I think that the left just can't handle seeing what they themselves are saying. Their views do not hold up to scrutiny, and that's why they hate me so much. I'm very proud of the work I've done. I'm going to continue doing it. And, people ask me, what's your end goal? And I'll tell you right now, my goal is to become irrelevant. My goal is to shut down, because that will mean that gender ideology has been eradicated from this country, the extremely harmful and dangerous gender ideology, which leads kids to be mutilated and castrated, and the sexualization of kids is over. That's when I will know that my mission's complete, and I will shut down and move on.
Hi, Rachel.
Well, all right, that was pretty good. If I could add anything to her last statement right there, it's that the puberty blockers that they put these kids on are basically sterilization drugs. So they're sterilizing these kids as well. They're taking away their ability to change their mind when they grow up and actually become adults. and have their own families, which is completely disastrous to the future of our country. We need people to be having families and having kids. And with that, I think I'll just go ahead and wrap this one up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video.